Developing a thesis statement. Sounds easy, doesn't it? Well, it's not as easy as one would think. First of all, you have to really look at the prompt. What is the teacher asking you to do? And you have to decide what your focus is going to be, what your topic is going to be. Most people will pick something that is interesting to them or that they already know something about, but you have a few people out there who like to challenge themselves. You need to look at the time frame that you're working in and what your schedule's like and how much of a challenge you're really creating for yourself. It's not always the best idea to try to go and pick something that you really don't know anything about and you want to learn about. You're often better off getting something that you already have some familiarity with, that you already have some history with, and especially something that you're interested in, because it will make it easier for you to stay interested in the assignment, to stick with it and finish it. You won't get as frustrated. Trust me, research papers get very frustrating. So you don't want to set yourself up with too big of a challenge. So now that you have picked something that you found interesting, that you have some familiarity with, we look back at the prompt. What specifically is the teacher asking you to do? What are the specific points the teacher has suggested or pointed you towards? Sometimes the prompt is very vague, which means you may want to go ask the teacher for some advice, for some suggestions, some hints. Look at what has been talked about in class too. Often that will help you figure out a better way to approach it. Now, this is not that kind of a class, so our topic is going to be something rather brand new to you, but usually in a class you've built up towards this project. Here's an example. How effective is legislation at solving social problems? That's the teacher's prompt. Well, what do you do with that? You're going to need to break it down. You just can't talk about all legislation and all social problems. You can't talk generically. You need to get very specific here. So you pick a specific example. So let's talk gun control. And not just any gun control. Let's pick a recent event. Let's pick something that's been in the news and people are fairly familiar with right now. A shooting that just happened. And then you can sit down and say, now, after this shooting, what our legislators do? They enacted the following laws. Well, how effective were those laws? And then you can usually go and find examples to prove this. Now, something that people have a lot of trouble with is the difference between a topic and a thesis statement. A lot of teachers don't really differentiate. In fact, when I was looking around on the internet trying to find some assistance with this, I found that most of what's out there doesn't know the difference between a topic and a thesis statement. They think they're the same thing. They're not. A topic statement is just simply saying, hey, this is what I'm going to talk about. This is my topic. This is the thing I want to discuss. Okay? It's like saying, you asked me to talk about advertising campaigns. Okay, I'm going to talk about McDonald's. Alright, so what? Okay, I know you're going to talk about McDonald's. What specifically are you going to say about McDonald's? That's where the thesis statement comes in. The thesis statement is very direct and specific. It usually presents a question or problem that you want to explore or solve. It's going to state specific things that you are going to do to explore and solve this. Like for here, if you look at these two examples, drug use is detrimental to society. Yeah, okay, that's a topic sentence. So you can sit here and talk about drug use being detrimental to your blue in the face. What specifically do you want to say about it? Illegal drug use is detrimental because it encourages gang violence. That's a thesis statement. You're going to prove in your essay how illegal drug use encourages the gangs and, of course, causes violence. Controlling ideas. These are the things you're going to focus on as you explain and explore, define your topic. These are the things that are going to be the focus of the paragraphs in your essay. This is going to be like if you were developing an outline. These are going to be the major points for your outline. So a strong thesis contains controlling ideas. For the size paper we're going to be doing, a 3 to 4 page paper, you're going to need about 3 good, strong, controlling ideas. So the first thing you do is you turn your topic into a question. Then you think about what specific elements you need to discuss. Then you look at how you're going to find the support that builds that. For example, since this is an icon essay, what makes Elvis Presley iconic? Okay, all of you should be starting at that point. You should be filling in that blank with your icon. Okay? Now, you have to stop and think what specific things are going to answer that question. This is going to tell me how to build my paper. All right, so one of the things that I want to say is that Elvis personified the rebellious nature of rock and roll. That's right. So I'm going to be looking for articles that specifically tell me this. I'm also going to look for articles that talk about his service in the Army and how that won over the older generation. Said he's a good boy. He takes care of his country. He loves his country. And we're also going to look a little bit at his movies and how they created this image for him that brought in his audience. When you start your research, it's a huge sea of information out there now, and it's so much more difficult actually now that the internet is here than it used to be. It used to be we just went to the library, found a few books, and wrote our essay. Now you are overwhelmed with information. You have to sort through so much more than we ever had to look at. We were limited with whatever was on our library shelves. You've got the entire world at your fingertips. So how do you figure this out? You have to understand the nature of information that's out there. First of all, there are several levels or types of sources. There's primary, secondary, and tertiary sources. And you say, so what? That's like first, second, and third. Okay. Alright, well, let's think about that. This is the authenticity of your source. The closer to primary, the more authentic it is. And these are the type of sources that you could be looking at here in this little chart. Like, if we're doing arts, humanities, and social sciences, so photographs are very authentic. Speeches and letters and diaries of the individual, authentic. Novels and poems written by that individual. Observation notes. If you were doing science, lab notes, interviews. These are the things that you're going to see as we move on. You're going to understand why they're in these columns. A primary source was created by somebody who was there. They experienced the event or they witnessed it. These are not people who came in afterwards and decided to write about it. They were in the heat of things. So those of you who may be familiar with Happy Days, that's Fonzie there. So Fonzie's going to tell us, hey, there was no shark in the water, and he used a stuntman to do the ski jump, but I was still terrified when that Fonzie jumped the shark on Happy Days. Whoa! Okay. You may have no idea what I'm talking about there, but this is the origin of the expression jump the shark. Secondary is somebody who went out and did research. They interviewed people and read reports that were written by people who were there, who witnessed the event, who were part of it. And then they put that information together. So here we have a book, The Truth About Fonzie by Peggy Hertz. Peggy Hertz interviewed actors from Happy Days. She interviewed the writers for the series. She interviewed the director for the series. So she got a lot of first-hand information to write her book. Tertiary is written by somebody who's using a lot of secondary and even other tertiary sources. They're getting very general sources, because remember, the further away you get from the original, the less detailed and the less authentic the information is, the more likely it is to be changed. It's often influenced by bias and prejudice. because usually the person writing a tertiary report has a specific agenda they're aiming for, and so they're not going to tell you everything. They're only going to tell you what they want you to know. So tertiary sources, they're light on details. They really leave out a lot of facts that you may need to know. So we want to try to avoid tertiary reports. In fact, what you're writing is considered a tertiary report. Like, for instance, this little meme over here on the side. Oh, and for the record, there was an episode of Happy Days where a guy literally jumped over a shark, and it was the best one. Trey Barnes. Trey Barnes thinks that was the best episode of Happy Days. Well, he doesn't understand the term jumping the shark. Happy Days actually originated this term when the ratings were going down. And so when a show starts losing viewers, it usually means that it's no longer fresh, it's no longer interesting. And so they try to find some special event, some stunt to draw viewers back. And Happy Days did it by sending them off to, I think it was Hawaii or just to the ocean or something. I forget, but they all went on a special trip to the beach, and Fonzie was going to jump a shark. Now, Fonzie was a motorcycle guy. He rode around on a motorcycle, wore a leather jacket all the time. And in the 70s, there was this dude called Evel Knievel who jumped things on his motorcycle. Now, Fonzie had already jumped a bunch of buses or cars or something on the show. And so now they had to do one even bigger. They had to do something even bigger than jumping buses. Evel Knievel jumped a canyon. What can we do with Fonzie? I know, let's have... Jaws was popular at the time. This is 1978. Jaws, the movie, came out a couple years before. So, yeah, let's have Fonzie jump over a great white shark. Yeah, okay. So, they did that. Fonzie, on skis, jumps over a shark. It was stupid. You never even saw the shark. You weren't even sure it was in the water. And of course you knew it was a stuntman. Ratings just plummeted. The show was canceled not long after that. So jumping the shark is a term that has come to mean something that's past its peak. It's no longer all that original or interesting, and it's desperately trying to get you back. It does something stupid, something that's supposed to be spectacular to try to get viewers back, try to regain your interest. Alright, now that we've kind of gotten off task, let's get back. Another thing that you need to think about is what kind of source you're going to be using. Most of the time in college you're going to be using academic sources. These are publications that were created specifically for students to use. They're for educational purposes. They are written by professors and researchers to be shared with other professors and researchers, and for students to look at when they're, learning their subject matter. So they're specifically for universities and colleges. Where do you find them? In university and college libraries. You're not going to find this on the bookshelf over at Barnes & Noble's in their magazine rack. You're not going to find it at the grocery stores you're checking out. And they are expensive, so most people don't buy them. Where do we get them? At our library. Now, popular sources, and unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, but most likely you're going to have to use some popular sources to do this essay, because what I'm asking you is a popular topic. What do I mean by popular? It's aimed at the general population. This is not really an academic subject. And I do this on purpose because I want you to see the pitfalls of researching through Google and other search engines as opposed to just using the library exclusively. Now, popular sources, as this says, are aimed at the general population. They are not very detailed. They are simplistic in their approach, because most people that read their magazines aren't looking for depth. They're just looking for a quick read. They're really looking for entertainment. And most of these magazines are written at an 8th grade reading level, which is considered the average in America. It's sad that the average person graduates high school with an 8th grade reading ability. You want to also find authoritative sources. Now, this doesn't matter whether you're looking at an academic source or a popular source. You want somebody who knows what he or she is talking about. So you want someone who is an authority, someone who is an expert on the subject. Just because something has been published in a respectable magazine doesn't mean that an authority wrote it. You want to be sure that these people have done their research or have actually lived and breathed this subject. Often, especially when you go to the internet, the articles are going to be tertiary sources or even worse. Internet has a lot of plagiarism, a lot of theft going on where people just cut and paste other people's articles into theirs. So you don't know the level of quality of a lot of these sources. Please make sure that there is an author so that you can check and see how much of an authority that author is. You can usually click right on their name and it will take you to them. If not, you do a search on them and see what comes up. Find out who this person is. I found two very interesting articles about the origins of the universe. Okay, one was by Dr. Stephen Hawking, and it was published in the Smithsonian. And the other was by Kurthan, also published in the Smithsonian. Okay, now Dr. Stephen Hawking is a renowned physicist, and he's an expert on theoretical cosmology, which means he spent his whole life studying the origins of the universe. He's instrumental in developing the Big Bang Theory into what we understand it to be today, about how bodies move throughout the universe. Are they moving away from or moving back towards the theoretical center of the universe? All this sort of thing. He is a primary source. You don't get much more of an expert than Dr. Stephen Hawking on theoretical physics. Now, Kurthan, he's got articles published all over the place in the Smithsonian, Live Science, New Scientist, and other magazines. I looked him up. First of all, that picture was not there. If I'd seen that picture, I probably wouldn't even thought twice about his article. But I looked him up, and he's a science writer. He lives in New York City, and he's interviewed a lot of people. He's watched space shuttles lift off. He's visited some cool places. Well, guess what? I've interviewed a lot of very important people. I have been to a lot of cool places. It doesn't make me an expert on all this stuff. And I've had articles published in various magazines and things. It still doesn't make me an expert. So I don't see anything here that says that Kurthan's really an expert at the origin of the universe. He's just a writer like me who's able to go out there and gather information and put together a not so embarrassing presentation of information. But the thing is, not being an expert, he can't really get into the depth that you're going to need. He gives you a generic beginning. So people like Kurthan, their articles are okay. They're a good start for giving yourself some ideas, but they're really not the best thing for you to use in a research paper. They're not going to impress your professor. They're going to say that, okay, you just told me what anybody standing on a street corner could probably tell me about this topic. Understand the internet is very difficult to navigate and to find good information. There's a lot of crazy stuff out there on the internet. Like, I actually found this quote on the internet. The difficulty with quotations taken from the internet is that it is very difficult to know if they are authentic. Said by Abraham Lincoln in 1985. Seriously? Lincoln was dead almost 200 years by 1985. No, I'm sorry, 100 years. God, math is not my strong suit. About 100 years in 1985. He never knew what the internet was. How could he have made that quote? It's very difficult to separate fact from fiction, plagiarism, all sorts of crazy stuff that's just floating around on the internet. You've really got to proceed with caution. When you Google something, or you use Yahoo or Bing or any of the big search engines, understand they are free. Anything that's free, you're getting what you paid for, which means it's not really doing the work for you. It's not doing the specific level of work you need. There's nothing wrong with these search engines. They do what they're supposed to do. They find things for you. But you have to understand how they work. They're tools. You don't want to try to drive a nail with a screwdriver. You want a hammer, okay? So while you're doing this research, understand that the kind of information you're going to get is for the casual surfer. People who are just looking for, hi, I wonder, like, what how the Kardashians up to? Is there going to be a new season? It's really not for deep intellectual pursuits. And when you do a search, it's not even looking for the best site for information. What it's going to give you are the most popular sites, the sites that get the most hits, the sites that most people visit. So these websites that come up are often run by fans. They are often things like Wikipedia, they're blogs, they're just generic lists. They're usually quick and easy in and out kind of information. They're encyclopedia type information, dictionaries. They're not good for depth. Right? I hate to say it, but most of what you find on these search engines is not going to be very deep. Now there is Google Scholar, which basically is going to do the same thing the library website is going to do for you. And often the things that you find on Google Scholar are going to say, well, here's a summary of what, or they're also known as an abstract, of what our article's about, and if you want to read the whole article, you have to pay us. Don't ever pay for an article on one of these search engines. Go to the library, okay? Because the library has already paid for them. Your student fee, part of that goes to the library to keep renewing these subscriptions so that we have access to a lot of databases that are specifically aimed at college level academic journals to bring you the best in the research that's out there, and you don't have to pay a penny for it because it's already been taken care of. Now, unfortunately, searching the library databases isn't as easy as searching Google. You have to understand how to navigate this web page. Now, this is going to come up in about 2 more weeks. Our embedded librarian, Miss Gina Kalia-Lotz, a wonderful person. Normally she would talk to you guys in person, but since we're on lockdown in our houses, that can't happen. But she's developing a video for you. In fact, Thursday you're going to see part 1 of her presentation. Part 2 is the one that explains how to use the library search engine. Now, you really don't need to use the library for this assignment. Most of what you need you will be able to find in a Google search. But I will make some suggestions to you on each of your individual topics that you may want to look at a particular source through the library. But if you ever have any questions, if you're having trouble finding anything through the library, you can always email the library, one of the librarians. If you go to the library website, the research librarians are listed there. Email them with your question. In fact, I think they even have a little box. You just type your question in and send it off to them. And they are more than happy, because that's what they get paid to do, to answer your question and help you find what you need to find. We are lucky that we have Miss Kalia-Lotz, and that you can go right to our menu where it says Our Librarian, and click on it, and her email address is there, and you can send her an email through our Blackboard website, and she'll get right back to you with answers or some suggestions. Understand that ultimately with your essay you are accountable for the quality of your essay. If your sources are pretty bad, your essay is going to be bad. You need to pick the best possible sources in order to get the best grade, because your teacher is also an expert usually in these topics and is going to be able to recognize that that's not good enough, this is junk. They want to see that you are learning something by doing this research. It's the whole purpose of a research paper, is for you to go out and prove that you can find information on your own and that you are finding the quality information. So, just as I said in the last video, don't procrastinate, don't goof around with it, take this very seriously, and search with purpose.